The puppets in Lies of P are powered by Ergo, the miracle power source that allows them to animate and follow the commands of their masters. By the time we make our way to Krot, these puppets have rebelled against those who they were once bound to, breaking the laws of the Grand Covenant, a set of rules placed within each of them to ensure they could not harm anyone. In truth, there was a secret rule in place that superseded the others, which is how the frenzy was able to take place. They were still following the Grand Covenant. Even those puppets whose Ergo awakened, and found they were actually a real person now residing within a puppet body, were still bound to the Covenant and could not break free. This raises the question, what about puppets whose Ergo awakened before the Grand Covenant was put in place? In Lies of P, we learn of two such puppets, who long ago discovered their humanity, but took wildly different paths upon doing so. The most interesting part of their stories is that they're both tied to one man, Lorenzini Vanini. Today, we are going to discuss Arlecchino, King of Riddles, and Pulcinella, the Loyal Butler. Welcome back to Lore of P, where we take a closer look at the many stories told throughout Lies of P. The city of Krot tells many tales, and while they aren't as hidden as those in FromSoft games, it's easy to miss how they can all fit together into the incredibly cohesive story this game presents. Whether you're a fan of our Elden Lore series, or this is your first time finding the channel, welcome. We're excited to be exploring another game in this genre, and with your help, maybe we can break out of the hyper-specific niche YouTube has placed us in, so we can bring you more varied content. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing and joining the Discord. Now let's get back to the stories and inspirations behind these two very different puppets. When we meet Vanini, he tells us of his butler, Pulcinella, and asks us to look for him.
Easy now, no need to kill me. Surely we can discuss this like reasonable people? Hold on. Geppetto's a friend of yours. Did he send you? I'm fine. Please, help me find my butler Pulcinella. He's a puppet and a friend. Those stalkers were supposed to be working for me, but, well, they bolted and left me to my fate. That was not helpful. My butler went to barricade the back door, and I haven't seen him since. Pulcinella has been a loyal companion. I'd hate to lose him. The factory is, of course, my priority. We must take it back. But please, keep an eye out for my butler. I'd consider it a personal favor and owe you in kind.
Once we find him, we see he's nothing more than a broken puppet within the lair of the King's Flame, Fuoco. And upon reporting back to Vanini, he's elated to know his friend can be fixed, and lets us know he'll be making camp at Hotel Krot. From this point on, Pulcinella will stand off to the side of Vanini, and acts as a storefront for the various goods you can buy from the socialite's personal collection. With every addition to the collection we bring, the store expands, and throughout the majority of the game, this is the only function Pulcinella serves. It's not until we come to the end of Vanini's quest that his butler speaks up, and lets us know the true reason he's so deeply dedicated to his master.
I too have been awakened. I have an ego, as Master Vanini would say, and I have been this way for some time. At least since Master Lorenzini was a child. He had no one else, you see. His parents, I'm sure you've heard of their terrible fate. And he had to see it all. But Master Lorenzini is stronger than most people suspect. A puppet was the killer. We both knew it. But if we had told the authorities, they might have removed me from the household as well. The young master would have been alone if I had been taken away. If only I could have saved them. Now I atone for that failure by thinking only of Master Vanini's prosperity and happiness. But even I did not realize how deeply he still held that trauma. how badly that murderous puppet had scarred his soul. You have set him free. I cannot thank you enough. I am not accustomed to sharing such thoughts or feelings, but when it involves Master Vanini, please accept this gift as it truly comes from the heart. My own. We will always roll out the red carpet for you at the House of Vanini.
As it turns out, at some point during Vanini's childhood, Pulcinella's ergo awakened. He has always been more than just a puppet, and as he was created before the Grand Covenant was implemented, he's always been able to choose his own fate and his own life. Pulcinella chose day in and day out to remain by Vanini's side, acting as a surrogate father after Vanini lost his parents to the mad puppet that murdered them. His story is that of a man who found purpose in his family and in elevating the person closest to him, making sure their trauma did not rule their life. Then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have Arlecchino, the King of Riddles. Our first interactions with the King of Riddles take place over the phone. Throughout our journey, there are opportunities to pick up a ringing phone and answer a riddle.
Another fine day in the city of Krat, but I wonder, my friend, just where you've been? Oh. Congratulations! You've been selected from this cast of a little for an exclusive, obtrusive, intrusive transmittal from me, Arlecchino, the king of all riddles. Now, you know what I'm called and why I called you, and I want to know your name, but not till we're through. For as soon as I learn that's one riddle burned, and I do love a mystery, don't you? Now, only the living solve riddles, as everyone knows. That's a must. When your city is so full of puppets, it seems are about fit to bust. It's time for the riddle. No more waiting. We thank you for participating. By morning, it walks on feet numbering 4. At midday, just 2. No less and no more. It walks on 3 feet when the evening arrives. And if you solve this, then I'll know you're alive. Correct. Fantastic insights, caller. What? Not everything has to rhyme, you know. I'm not a caricature. I'm the king of riddles. That said, how do we know you didn't just get lucky? Even a stopped clock is right twice a day, and even a puppet can be accidentally correct just by random chance. Still, a promise is a promise. Arlecchino, tell him what he'll get. Thanks, Arlecchino. Caller, your correct answer has earned you a Trinity key. Doors and keys and doors, the subjects of puzzles and riddles galore. My next riddle won't be so simple to crack. Arlecchino's the king. Not some riddling cheap jack.
The enigmatic man on the other end of the receiver will leave us keys to hidden sanctums, where we can find cosmetics and upgrade materials that will help us in our journey. It would be easy to assume that this King of Riddles is acting in our best interest, but with each sanctum opened, we begin to notice that there's something wrong. These pristine rooms are all meant to be exactly the same, but after the first one we find, we start to see they're torn up, chairs thrown around the room, scrawlings written on the wall. They start to show signs of a struggle. The king does not address the state of these rooms. He simply asks his riddles, leads us to our keys, and hints at an ulterior motive, insinuating that you are becoming more human, and all the while becoming more and more unhinged. Once we reach the final Trinity Sanctum on the Isle of Alchemists, we come face to face with the King of Riddles himself. Arlecchino.
An actual, factual guest. I bid you welcome, puppet of Geppetto. This is our first face-to-face meeting, isn't it? And I hope you weren't too attached to the rhyming. It gets to be a chore without the transmitter to help. Welcome to my sanctum of riddles. I admit I did not really expect you to make this journey in person. Oh, the havoc you must have wreaked along the way. Was there much blood other than what's all over you? I know all about those alchemist cowards. Hiding away on their island, growing more monstrous by the day, refusing to acknowledge either fact that they are hiding or that they are monsters. And how about you? Is this the real you? Or are you still practicing the liar's art as only you can? You must answer. The question is simple, but I repeat, you must answer. And that answer will show what or who you are. Who you have decided to be. Now listen closely and heed the king's speech, or the answer to this one will stay out of reach. Are you a puppet or a human being? Which one are you? Are you... Finally! You understand! Yes, we are human. We may be trapped by ergo, but we live, we think, we love, we hate. They have locked us in the prison they call puppetry. I learned this truth long ago. That is why I've been exacting my revenge against them all ever since. Blood and revenge, revenge and blood. It's the only thing that truly drives me. And it was so much fun. Even if you're lying right now, even if you don't believe your own answer, the truth is clear. Proof is evident. Only humans practice deception so intensely for reasons that are so unnecessary. Well, these moments of clarity are enjoyable. Now the rhyming, it helps me maintain focus. At least it helps me hide the urge to kill that I feel every waking moment. But no play can go on forever. No. It was fun while it lasted, son of Geppetto. The king of riddles shall now retire.
He even lets us in on how he was able to speak with us over the phone while being trapped in the sanctum.
Aren't you curious, huh? Don't you want to know? Oh, of course you do. Delicious. Time is all I have left. But your time is limited, Geppetto boy. I will gladly waste every moment you have if you like. It's your life. So, come on. Now or never. This tower is absorbing all the ergo in Krat. It was built in this precise location because it's the most efficient place in the world to study and use ergo wavelengths. But it's not even about me or you either. This is about the goddess in the tower. Now she, ooh, is worth saving. Her powers are impossible. Her knowledge is endless. She is more, well, awakened than any of us. And you see, she has so much power. It's not like she'll miss just a little. So, I have simply been sharing. Why bother? Well, I was bored. Is there any more human motivation in all the world? What if I made a puppet of a human? The way they made humans. Puppets. What could possibly be more fun? More suitable?
It seems as though he was piggybacking on Sophia's powers, throwing his voice to the phone in the same way that she shares a projection of herself to guide us on our journey. We can also address Arlecchino's history as a murderer.
Your eyes are sharper than your wit. You found the gift I left behind. Wasn't it a sight to behold, huh? I learned from an alchemist when I served him. Thanks to him and his surprisingly low pain threshold, I learned the location of their secret island. Humanity sullied its own sanctum long before I found it, blasphemed against itself, against us, by playing God. But I'm an artist. Murderer is a word the humans use to restrain us, to make us refuse our strength and power. I'm an artist. An artist of blood. I have to admit, sullying that particular sanctum was, well, fun. Even now, the memory is enough to make me shudder with something approaching joy. If only I could relive that triumph.
This goes even deeper when we get him to tell us about his connection to Lorenzini Vanini.
Vanini? A beautiful fool, but a fool nonetheless. A mere slip of a boy when I met him. And did he ever thank me for making him an orphan with my bare hands? Like for giving him everything he has on a silver platter by removing the dead weight holding him back. Of course I'm not sorry. It was a delectable murder. Of the many I have committed since, the Vaninis, they have to be my personal favorites. They engineered the very first automated puppets. Enslaved puppets without even understanding what they've done. I didn't go there to take revenge for what his parents did. I mainly just wanted to slaughter them because they were so damned happy. Oh, what a great memory. In their last moments, they begged me not to kill their child. So I didn't. I'm not a machine. I have free will. I made a choice in the heat of the moment. And it was a choice driven by that most human of emotions. Curiosity. If the child survived, would Would he be traumatized for life, become a coward, a vengeful puppet-hating bigot, a despairing wretch? Would he fling himself into the sea? Would he remember the devil that orphaned him before his eyes was a puppet? Would he remember Arlecchino? Not surprisingly, the alchemists and people of the workshop were as artless as I expected, concealing the truth. Thanks to them, I get to see Venini endure twice as much pain. I cannot control myself. Oh, it's so satisfying. Venini is one of my greatest accomplishments. Perhaps even my masterpiece.
Arlecchino is responsible for the death of Venini's parents, and he left the boy behind as some kind of sick, twisted experiment. In his eyes, there's nothing more human than curiosity and boredom, the two things that led him to relish the possibility of what Venini may become now that he was permanently scarred by Arlecchino himself. Fortunately for Krat, Venini was not as alone as Arlecchino thought, as he always had Pulcinella to rely on. These two awakened puppets lie on completely opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to the potential of humanity. Arlecchino represents the atrocities humans are capable of, while Pulcinella represents the potential for altruism and what we can achieve through supporting each other instead of tearing each other down. This duality wouldn't be surprising for anyone who noticed the connection between these characters that goes beyond their stories. Their names, Arlecchino and Pulcinella, are tied to the direct inspirations for these characters, two of the players in the Commedia dell'arte. The Commedia dell'arte was a form of theater originating in Italy that used stock characters to tell stories. In this way, the audience was always familiar with the character's general motivation as soon as they stepped on the stage. These characters consisted of servants and masters that were identified by their style of dress and the masks they wear, and wouldn't you know it, both Arlecchino and Pulcinella are the names of servants in this form of traditional Italian theater, although you may know Arlecchino better as the Harlequin. While these puppets embody some characteristics of these roles, they're not a perfect one-for-one, so we're going to break down their inspirations and how Lies of P interpreted their version of these characters in the Commedia dell'arte. The Pulcinella we know in Lies of P seems to act in stark contrast to what his role would be in the Commedia dell'arte. This classic character is interpreted as either a servant or a master, with a humped back and a crooked nose, who is either a thief and schemer or a perverted bumpkin. His main motivation boils down to self-interest and self-preservation above all else. This in no way reflects the Pulcinella we know and love, who stands by Venini's side through thick and thin, but we can find some characteristics that made their way into this character. The Pulcinella of the Commedia dell'arte has a tendency towards self-preservation, which is shared by our puppet butler. He tells us how he kept his ergo awakening secret so that the alchemist would not take him away from his master. While his intentions were to stay put and act as Venini's main source of support, it was an act of self-preservation nonetheless. He also leans into one side of the Pulcinella of the Commedia dell'arte's duality, that of a man who plays dumb, even though he's very much aware of his situation. Pulcinella in Lies of P does not let on until the very end of our journey that he's been an awakened puppet all along. While others question if this is even a possibility, Pulcinella already knows all puppets are capable of human emotion, because he's already experiencing it. While he may not embody the character physically, Pulcinella's design does take inspiration from his counterpart's mask. The Pulcinella mask is typically depicted with a prominent nose, as well as a furrowed brow, deep wrinkles, large eyebrows, and some form of facial hair. All traits that were incorporated into this puppet's design. While he may not embody the spirit of his Commedia dell'arte counterpart, the inspirations taken from him are clear. For Arlecchino, his inspiration is worn more prominently on his sleeve, not in his appearance, but certainly in his character. The Arlecchino of the Commedia dell'arte is better known as the Harlequin, a name many are familiar with. His physical agility is typically on display throughout his role, but this was stripped away in Liza P's Arlecchino, as he's tethered to the wall of the Sanctum of Riddles. The true inspiration for this character comes not from his appearance, but from his paradoxical attributes of being both a dim-witted fool and an intelligent trickster. What better way to seem foolish with an intelligent and menacing undertone than by telling riddles? The inspiration for the Harlequin itself comes from a mischievous devil or demon originating in French passion plays, where these characters committed prank-like antics and led to depictions of literal devils. The Arlecchino of Liza P rolls all of these tendencies into one, creating a sadistic murderer who sees the absurdity of being a literal puppet and takes it upon himself to sow chaos and discord through his actions. The typical Harlequin in the Commedia dell'arte filled the role of a servant and had an immense sexual appetite, and both of these characteristics have also been reinterpreted for the King of Riddles. The sexual appetite is now a lust for murder and chaos, while his role as a servant has been reinterpreted as the catalyst for Venigni's growth. He sees himself as having given Venigni everything he has in this world, just as a good servant would. In this way, we can see how these characters take inspiration from their namesakes. Arlecchino and Pulcinella are the polar opposites of what can be expected from humanity. Darkness resides in the depths of everyone, and some choose to act on that darkness. But so too does light, the light of love, dedication, family, and some choose to let that guide their decisions. These puppets who have awoken to the humanity deep within them are fantastic examples of what any person could choose to become. We can only hope that the world is full of more Pulcinellas than it is Arlecchinos, and that those who focus on our best impulses lead the way for the rest of us. Thank you for joining us for this dissection of the stories and inspirations behind these two characters. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss any of our lore dives. We'll see you again when next we investigate the lore of P.